College football is right around the corner, and it is now getting to that time. Start making the predictions. And today, it is the Big Ten championship that we are predicting. We're going game by game, and I'm going to give a little bit of a dive on the games that I find most interesting in that particular week. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on with it. So, game one. Well, just gonna work through the formalities here, the obvious ones. Oh, going through a little too quickly there because we're gonna talk about that at the tail end here. SC, Utah, Washington. Okay. So, obviously, this being week one, most of these are formalities. But the big one, obviously, Ohio State, Texas. This game, Ohio State's going to have the best player on the field, whether they're on offense or defense. Problem is, I don't know if they're going to have the best quarterback on the field. Ohio State obviously has Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Those are the two best players on the field, regardless who Ohio State plays. Now, the question is going to be, will Ohio State be able to protect Julian Sain, who we expect to be the starting quarterback? And I am hard pressed to say yes. I'm going to lean towards no. The offensive line the last number of years has been very, very questionable for Ohio State. And on top of that, Ohio State has lost both their running backs. And we just don't know enough about Peoples to suggest that he is going to be able to carry the load of Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins to keep this Ohio State offense marching. And on top of all of that, you have a brand new, never before offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline. Now, I think he's going to end up being a very good coach, but it's going to be his first game as an offensive coordinator in his entire life. And with all that in mind, you also have on the other side, you have Texas. They have a two-headed monster in the backfield. They have Arch Manning, who has a little bit of experience, a little bit of actual game experience, albeit against lesser competition, but experience nonetheless. Then you have Steve Sarkisian, who I don't really trust a whole lot as far as can he win the big ones at least in the playoffs. But he was able to beat Nick Saban. So I do think Steve Sarkisian is quickly gaining my trust, and I'm gonna show that trust here. I think Texas is gonna be able to go into Columbus with Arch Manning and beat Ohio State. So that is my week one. Have Northwestern, UCLA, and Ohio State at 0-1. Everybody else, perfect record. And then we have some more formalities. Northwestern, Maryland. I do have Illinois over Duke. I am gonna take Iowa State over Iowa. As always, the quarterback position is very, very questionable. The offense in general is very, very questionable. So I am very, very hesitant to say that Iowa can go into Ames and get the victory, because I don't. Then more formalities. Oregon and Oklahoma State. So this game, I think Oregon's going to win. That one, that I am fairly sure of, but it's going to be a lot closer than what people believe. Oklahoma State, they had a down year last year. We're not going to see that a second time. Mike Gundy is too good of a coach to be down for consecutive years. So even though Oregon wins this game, it is going to be very, very close. Wisconsin, now Michigan State and Boston College. This is going to be an interesting game as well. Two great coaches. Michigan State has, I know Michigan State has a returning quarterback. I think Boston College has a third-year starting quarterback. I think I could be wrong on that. But nonetheless, Bill O'Brien, tremendous coach, good offensive play caller. He knows what he's doing. Jonathan Smith, phenomenal program builder. But I'm going to go with the home team in East Lansing. I think Michigan State wins, but oh my God, is that going to be a game? Is that going to be a fight? And then you have Michigan, Oklahoma. Now, I'm going to do the formalities here real quick. Now, Michigan, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, their back's up against the wall. It's John Mateer. They brought in John Mateer and Brian Arbuckle from Washington State to save Brett Venables' job. And for Michigan, this is their first major test on the road with a true freshman quarterback with one game under his belt. And then on top of all of that, Oklahoma has two running backs, one of them being James Ott from Cal, who some were putting on their Heisman watch list when he was at Cal. I don't think he was a Heisman finalist, but James Ott is a force to be reckoned with, and he's going to be showing it off. While at Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma wins, and I think Oklahoma wins by multiple scores on top of that. So that is week 2 into the books. Then we got some more formalities. Wisconsin, Alabama. I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than what the experts think. Not because Wisconsin is catching up to Alabama. It is because Alabama is regressing to Wisconsin. Huge difference there. I've questioned how good this Alabama team is. Ty Simpson did not look good when he was going up against South Florida. When Nick Saban tried this experiment to show that they had nothing. I get Kalen DeBoer is a lot better on the offensive side than what Nick Saban was, because Nick Saban's a defensive coach. But I think Alabama wins this game, but I question how fun this season's going to be for the Tide. Then some more formalities. I got USC beating Purdue on the road. Then I got Minnesota beating Cal. In Berkeley, Cal lost a lot in the transfer portal. That program's a mess. Not even going to entertain it. And then I'm going to take Iowa on the road at Rutgers. This game, Illinois and Indiana. Indiana had a dream season last year, 11-1, went to the playoffs. For the first time in forever, they were actually relevant. Kurt Singetti, tremendous job, unbelievable job that he's done in the short time that he's been there. They're going to replicate that success, whether it's at that same level. I highly doubt that. Indiana's still going to be in the feeling out stage of this. So whereas Illinois, they got a lot more guys that came back, including the quarterback, including Brett Bielema, the head coach. Um, and I think at this stage of the season, I think Illinois is going to be able to go into Bloomington and win that game. And then the Civil War, give me Oregon, USC, Michigan State. I'm going to take USC. Um, both teams undefeated going into that game. The Coliseum may very well be a rockin'. And I think Lincoln Riley's going to have something cooking by the time we get to for this season. I don't know what, but he's going to be cooking something. And then I'm taking Wisconsin at home and Notre Dame at home. Oh, don't make me laugh. Then got Northwestern. So USC at Illinois. If it was a different venue, then I would go the other way. But it's at home. Illinois has a very experienced team. USC does not on the road. But the weather could be winding down, could play a factor. I'm taking Illinois in Champaign because, and also Champaign is going to be a rockin'. Then I got Minnesota winning that game. Ohio State at Washington. I so desperately want to pick Washington in this game so badly because it would make a good story. But fact of the matter is, Ohio State's coming off a bye. Washington, they're coming off what we expect to be at the very least an emotionally charged Apple Cup against their in-state rival Washington State. And I think going from a game like that to a game like this, I think that's too much of a swing. I'm going to give Ohio State, but it's going to be close. And then I'm actually going to go Indiana on this one. I get it. It's in Kinnick, but Indiana, I trust Getty. I trust Kurt Getty more than I trust Kurt Ferentz at this current juncture. And then you have the game of the week. This one is going to be prime time. It's going to be on NBC. Oregon at Penn State in Happy Valley. Whiteout conditions. The crowd's going to be going wild. Dante Moore, the expected quarterback for Oregon, this is going to be a whole different experience for him. This is going to be totally different than anything he's experienced. It is whiteout conditions with 103,000 crazy people chanting "We are Penn State." I love Dan Lanning, but I think James Franklin gets the better of him. You have Jim Knowles on the defense. I think he's going to be able to slow down that Oregon offense and allow Drew Aller to go to work. Penn State also has a whole lot more people returning than what Oregon does. So I'm taking the Nittany Lions. Moving on. Week 6. So I got Northwestern, Ohio State, Illinois, over Purdue, Penn State, Michigan, Washington, and what will be your best game of the week, Nebraska, Michigan State, at least in the Big Ten. Michigan State at Nebraska. It's in Lincoln, better quarterback. I would put slightly better coach. I think Matt Rule is just slightly better than Jonathan Smith. But it's like, what do you like more, the Ferrari or the McLaren? It's kind of splitting those kind of hairs between how I feel about Matt Rule and Jonathan Smith. So then we got Washington, Penn State. Woo. So Ohio State, Illinois. This is in Champaign. Illinois, to my calculations, is undefeated. They are 6-0, undefeated, unmatched. Along with, and then you have Ohio State coming into town, the better rival that has kept your Eli Buck away from you for so many years. Juice Williams being the last starting quarterback to be in the Fighting Illini to put his hands on the Eli Buck. Give me Illinois in an upset. It's the perfect conditions. On the road, you have a very experienced veteran team with a far more inexperienced but more talented Buckeye team coming into Champaign. Dance. I think Illinois gets the upset. And then we got Nebraska, Minnesota. I think Oregon beats Indiana. It is at Eugene. It is in Autzen Stadium. I think that's just going to be too much for Indiana to handle, especially given that they have a new quarterback that is this will be game 7 for him. Game 6. So, give me Oregon to beat Indiana. Michigan, USC, a tale of the Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods that have fallen from grace, trying to work their way back. I'm gonna take USC because it's in the Coliseum. That place is gonna be rocking. Michigan's in town. USC is in a must-win situation if they want to take a chance at the Big Ten title. I'm gonna take the Trojans to win this one, and then I'm gonna call an audible. I think Wisconsin wins it at home. Camp Randall, very tough to play. And then I got Michigan State beating UCLA. So we got undefeateds at the top. Illinois, Penn State, Nebraska. 7-0, 6-0, 5-0. With just under halfway to go. So, got Nebraska. Indiana beats Michigan State. Purdue over Northwestern. We're going to go Northwestern. Either way, that game doesn't. A lot of formalities here. I'm going to take Washington to go into Ann Arbor and win that game. Coaching advantage, the offensive advantage, that's all going Washington. And the experience at quarterback, that is definitely going in the direction of Washington. I love Jed Fish. I love what he's doing. Sharon Moore, the book's still out on him. And if Michigan wants to win this game, Sharon Moore is going to have to show what he was able to put together and how well he has developed Bryce Underwood. Then I got Wisconsin going into Camp Randall and winning. And this is where you get yet another massive upset. Penn State, undefeated. Ohio State just a few weeks away. This is the last game before that game in Columbus. And as we have learned from history, Kinnick Stadium is where top teams go to die. And I see no difference here. Give me Iowa in the upset over Penn State. And then I'm going to take Notre Dame to beat USC. Week 9. Give me Indiana. Now, Michigan State, I think this is Michigan State's best opportunity. They have a quarterback that has some that's experienced. And this game being in East Lansing, Michigan State, they are hungry to finally get back in that win column over Big Brother. and I think it's going to happen here. The coaching advantage is definitely in the favor of Michigan State. And yeah, so I'm taking Sparty with the upset. Purdue, Nebraska, Oregon, Illinois, Washington. This is where it gets interesting because there are many different ways to approach this. The veteran team against it's veteran team on veteran team. Great coaches. This is like split down the middle. Defense advantage probably slightly towards Illinois. Washington having the obvious home field advantage, and I think that's going to end up being the difference in this game. I'm going to say Washington wins this game by 3, if not less. And then I'm going to take Iowa to beat Minnesota. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. It is very late. Anyway, and then you have the game. Big noon kickoff, undoubtedly, because it always is, because Fox has to do it at noon, because I don't know why. Nonetheless, Penn State, they just got embarrassed by Iowa. They're back on the road. They've had a week to think about it. They've had a week to reflect. They have the better quarterback. They have the defensive coordinator that has gone up against Brian Day's offense every single day for the last 3 years. But I'm taking the Buckeyes because I do not trust James Franklin to win a big game. Until he wins this game, I will be picking against him in this game. Every single time. And some formalities. I am going to take Michigan State over Minnesota. And then this is the one where I would say this will absolutely bring out the welcoming party of Nebraska. They now have the sense that they are back and they are in business. I like the foundation that Matt Rule has built in Lincoln, and I think we're going to see the difference between getting a good coach who just happens to lean offense between an offensive coordinator who just so happens to be a head coach. We're going to see that difference in this game. Give me Nebraska. Give me Dylan Raiola. Give me the coming out party of Dylan Raiola. And that leaves Nebraska 8-0, 5-0 in the conference, with an absolute and total logjam at the top. So, we got formality. I do have Penn State winning this game, but oh boy, is this going to be close. Nittany line is going to be very uneasy for 3.5 quarters, if not the entire game. Ohio State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Washington, and as I have mentioned over and over and over again ad nauseum, Kinnick Stadium is where top teams go to die. Oregon is no different. They will succumb to the curse of the top teams in Kinnick. Give me Iowa upsetting Oregon in Week 11. Week 12. Oregon goes back to their winning ways. Indiana. Ooh, this could be a free fall for Penn State. Because if Jonathan Smith has his stuff together, this team is as good as what it can be. And Michigan State feels like they have a chance to make the headlines. I could very easily see this game going this way. And you know what? I'm going to roll with it. Michigan State over Penn State. And some formalities. I am going to take USC over Iowa because Iowa does not play as well on the road as they do at home. And then Washington beating Purdue. Week 13, the game before the game. So we got Northwestern, we got Ohio State. This one, I think Penn State begins to save face again, upsetting Nebraska in Happy Valley. Happy Valley is going to be rocking and rolling. And it's going to be a Nittany Lion upset. And we got Washington. I'm going to say Michigan, Oregon. Nice try, USC. Good attempt. But no cigar. We got Illinois winning in Camp Randall. And I'm going to say Iowa over Michigan State. And then we roll on again to Rivalry Week. The battle for the oil driller thingamajig. I think that's what it's called. Either way, I got Nebraska. Like I said, I trust Nebraska's offense more than I trust Iowa's. Indiana over Purdue because it's Purdue. A lot of beatdowns here. And then we got the two border battles. I tell you what. Say you were in a coma. And this is 5 years ago. You're in a coma. You just woke up from a 5-year coma 5 years ago. Or you just woke up from a coma 5 years ago. And I told you that one of the biggest border battles in the Big Ten for Week 14 of 2025. So it would be 5 years from now. Well, 5 years from when this person went into a coma. I said the biggest border battle in the one of the biggest border battles in the Big Ten was going to be Oregon and Washington. Huh? How does that make sense? Well, I don't know. I don't know why they decided to have the Big Ten on coast to coast, but nonetheless, here we are. And I'm going to take Washington to win this game. I really like Washington. I like them a lot. And taking Ohio State to beat Michigan. This is a pure head game at this point between Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State has got to learn that they have to play their game in order to win the game. If they try to play Michigan's game, they are going to lose. They learned that the hard way last year for 4 consecutive quarters outside of that one-minute drive that they had, throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith and getting the touchdown. And after this, they never went back to that, and they just tried to run the ball, and it was obviously not working. So, as it sits, we have a 4-way tie. And you have an absolute conjungled mess. Oh, I forgot to pick that game. Okay. Anything else I forgot to pick? Okay. So, Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't have a win over anybody this top half. Ohio State has beaten Oregon or Washington, right? Yeah, beat Washington, lost to Illinois, and Illinois. So Illinois owns the tiebreaker over there. Washington owns the tie. So yeah, you're in the triangle of death. So this is gonna get left up to the committee. It's gonna get left up to the committee. And given Ohio State's history and the fact that they actually played a tough opponent in the non-conference. Geez, I gotta click on those. Okay, I think I got everybody. Either way. If I didn't get you, you weren't important enough. So, anyway. So, assuming this gets left up to the committee, figure out how in the world this is going to work. I'm going to predict what the committee does with this. I'm going to say Ohio State gets in. They're the name brand. And no, I'm not going off potential stats or whatever, because that's not how the committee works. Ohio State is going to is going to be going to the Big Ten championship game on this particular tiebreaker, and they will be going up against. Oh. Mm, I want to say. I'm going to say Nebraska. I think Nebraska gets the nod. They would attract more eyeballs. And to have Nebraska in a Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, that's easy marketing. I think it's going to be Ohio State, Nebraska. I think that defense is going to be too much for Dylan Raiola, and I'm going to take Ohio State to beat Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game, and then go on. But all 4 teams will get into the college football playoff. So, quite frankly, no matter which way they slice this up, it's going to be completely irrelevant because all of them are going to the Big Ten champion. All of them are going to be going to the college football playoff, and we'll have to see what kind of discussions we will have when we start talking about Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana. They're all 9-3. So that is all I have for you today. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything where I cover football, racing, and that's it. Football and racing. So, and that racing is Formula One and sometimes NASCAR, because NASCAR gets boring and got nothing to talk about when it comes to NASCAR. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. One last recap: Ohio State, Washington, Nebraska, and Illinois all in the college football playoff. See you in the next one.